I'm Layla Monroe, 32 years old. Last Christmas changed everything. After grinding harder than ever at work, I finally went apartment, hoping, just hoping, that my family would see me. But instead, I sat there as my younger sister, Olivia, tore open the keys to a brand new Tesla. Me? I got a tiny box. Inside was a pink piggy bank and a single-dollar bill. My mom smiled, soft but distant. "This is our little gift toward your future apartment, sweetie." That night, I packed my suitcase. No goodbyes, just the scent of rain on the pavement as I walked out the door. My phone buzzed. A message, not from her, but someone else. "Before I tell you where I went, have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Like no matter what you do, you're just background noise?" Growing up as the oldest daughter in the Monroe family was like living in a house full of shadows. Our downtown Baltimore apartment looked perfect from the street. Plants neatly trimmed, the faint rustle of leaves in the breeze, the smell of fresh rain on concrete. But inside, the quiet was heavy. My parents, Frank and Margaret, always kept up appearances for the neighbors. But behind closed doors, their love was reserved, mostly for Olivia. It started when I was 7 and Olivia was born. Suddenly, all the attention vanished. I got nods, quick and empty, while Olivia got cheers and ice cream parties just for showing up. I remember my 10th birthday. No cake. My parents were too busy buying nursery furniture for Olivia. When I cried at dinner, Mom shoved a candle into a dinner roll. "That's your cake," she said, like it should be enough. "Layla," my dad said once when I told him how much it hurt, "you're old enough to understand your sister needs more care." That was the moment I became the responsible one, the big sister. By 12, I was cooking simple meals while Mom was at Olivia's dance class. By 14, I was babysitting alone while they took Olivia shopping. Did you ever feel like you were holding your family together, but no one noticed? How long can you carry that weight before it breaks you? The air in Baltimore that night was damp, thick with the scent of rain clinging to the sidewalks. Layla Monroe sat in her parked Tesla, headlights off, watching droplets streak down the windshield. The glowing apartment windows ahead promised warmth. Inside, family voices rose and fell like distant music. She could almost smell cinnamon cookies baking, hear the scrape of chairs, Olivia Grant's laughter floating above the rest, always louder, always noticed. Layla's hands trembled as she gripped the gift receipts, their paper edges digging into her palm. Years of hard work, overlooked. Her heart beat against her ribs, fast and hollow. Would tonight finally be different? Would this be the moment her parents saw her, not just Olivia? She stepped out, boots crunching on wet leaves, and the front door opened before she knocked. Her mother, Margaret Carter, greeted her with a distracted smile, arms full of wrapping paper. The lights inside sparkled, reflecting in the windows, but the air felt heavy, thick with old patterns. Olivia's coat was already on the rack, her bright scarf tossed over the banister. Frank Monroe's voice boomed from the kitchen, telling a story Layla had heard 100 times before. She carried her carefully wrapped gifts inside, the weight of them more than just boxes. Layla paused at the kitchen counter, receipts clenched tighter. Her mom moved past her, a quick, "Can you put those under the tree?" before returning to the laughter in the living room. Olivia's name danced through the conversation. Not once did anyone ask about Layla's drive, her new title, the promotion she'd worked years to achieve. Layla stood still, the glow of holiday lights flickering over her face. Rain tapped the window, steady and soft. Should she walk into that living room, smile, act grateful, and let her own story fade into the background? Or should she slip out, unnoticed, finally choosing herself over another year of disappointment? What would happen if she just left? If she didn't play the role of the dutiful daughter this time? She listened to the muffled laughter, the rustle of wrapping paper, the low hum of family tradition. Her heart ached with longing, but also something sharper, resolve. Maybe tonight was the night she'd find her own worth, even if no one else in that apartment noticed. Would she finally choose herself? Or would the pull of old habits win again? Layla's breath caught. She waited, suspended in that moment, unsure which path she'd take. The rain outside grew louder. The lights flickered, and then a line of multicolored bulbs blinked above the door, their glow flickering across wet concrete. The Tesla out front still ticked with rain. Layla Monroe lingered in the hallway, her boots damp, the familiar scent of cinnamon and dust curling around her. Laughter drifted up from below, carefree, distant, like it belonged to someone else's family. Was this still her apartment? Or just a stage she stepped onto once a year, playing the role everyone expected? Margaret Carter appeared in the doorway, apron tied tight, red sweater bright as holly. "Layla, you made it," she said, voice sweet but distracted. Layla flinched at the quick hug, the vanilla perfume. Why did coming back always feel like swallowing hope and tasting only regret? Inside, every decoration stood exactly where it always had. The faded stockings, each in birth order. Nativity on the mantel, untouched. Even the plastic snowman outside, bobbing in the wind, seemed more welcome than she did. Margaret led her upstairs. "Your room's ready. Had to move some boxes, but there's a clear path." Layla stared at her old bedroom. Cardboard towers, tax files, holiday wreaths blocked the wall. Her old desk buried under half-finished sewing projects. Not a trace of her childhood, except in the faded quilt, still holding the scent of rain-soaked leaves and something lost. "It's just for sleeping, right?" Margaret asked, voice casual. "Olivia's room is exactly the way she left it. She stays over so much more." A pause. Layla nodded, throat tight. "This is fine, Mom. Thanks." But was it? Did her family even see her, or just the empty space she filled? Downstairs, the kitchen buzzed with holiday rhythm. Margaret's orders crisp, the knife clacking, steam rising from the stove. Layla peeled sweet potatoes in silence, the orange flesh sticky, the knife slipping in her hand. Her mom barely glanced over. The apartment trembled with a sudden burst of sound. "We're here!" Olivia Grant's voice rang out, clear and bright, laughter trailing behind. Kyle followed, bottle of wine in hand, already the center of attention. Layla's hands stilled. The laughter from the living room grew louder, bouncing off the walls, circling her like a taunt. Did anyone notice she hadn't said a word? Would they ever ask about her new title? The long hours she poured into a job that meant everything, at least to her? Or would she always be the one in the kitchen, silent, peeling, unseen? The smell of roasting turkey mingled with rain drifting in through the cracked window. Outside, wind rattled the glass. Inside, Layla's heart beat faster, echoing her old fears. Should she walk in, smile wide, pretend nothing stung? Let herself fade into the background, one more year? Or should she slip out into the night, the city lights calling, her own worth waiting somewhere beyond this apartment? If she left, would anyone chase after her? Would anyone notice at all? The moment hung there, fragile as a snowflake. The lights flickered. Layla took a breath. And then, I am focusing on my career right now, I replied, the rehearsed answer coming automatically. "Career is wonderful, but family is everything," she said, patting my arm. "Look at your sister and that doctor boyfriend. She has got the right idea." The conversation continued in this vein throughout dinner preparations. No one asked about my promotion or my work. Instead, I fielded questions about dating prospects and gentle suggestions about freezing eggs just in case. My mother enlisted my help setting the table with the family china delicate floral-patterned plates that had belonged to my grandmother. As I carefully arranged each place setting, I remembered the time I had accidentally broken one of these plates when I was 11. My father had grounded me for 2 weeks, calling me careless and irresponsible. 3 years later, Olivia Grant had thrown a tantrum and swept an entire place setting onto the floor. My parents had simply cleaned it up, assuring her it was just an accident and plates can be replaced. The memory must have shown on my face because my mother paused while placing silverware. "Is something wrong?" "No," I said quickly, "just being careful with the china." "Good. These plates are irreplaceable family heirlooms except when Olivia Grant broke them." Apparently, Christmas Eve dinner was a production of perfectly executed traditions. The turkey was golden brown, the sides abundant, and the conversation focused primarily on Olivia Grant's artistic endeavors and Kyle's medical school experiences. When I mentioned a challenging project I had recently completed for a sustainable office building, my father changed the subject to ask Kyle about his residency plans. After dinner came the annual viewing of It Is a Wonderful Life. As always, the seating arrangements left me on the floor while Olivia Grant curled comfortably on the couch between our parents. Kyle got the recliner, being the honored guest. I leaned against the coffee table, feeling the familiar ache in my lower back as the movie progressed. George Bailey's revelation about the value of his life hit differently this year. As I watched the character realize how much he mattered to others, I wondered if anyone would notice if I disappeared. Would my absence leave any hole in this family picture? As the movie ended and people began preparing for bed, I helped clean up while Olivia Grant showed Kyle the childhood photo albums that featured her prominently on every page with me, visible mainly in group shots, often partially cropped out. I went to bed that night in my storage room bedroom, surrounded by boxes of items deemed more worthy of space than my childhood memories. Tomorrow was Christmas Day. One last chance for things to be different. One last opportunity for my family to see me. Sleep came fitfully interrupted by dreams of empty stockings and car keys just beyond my reach. Christmas morning dawned bright and cold sunlight reflecting off fresh snow that had fallen overnight. I woke early as I always did and headed downstairs to start breakfast. This was an unspoken expectation. Amanda handles breakfast while everyone else sleeps in. I mixed pancake batter, fried bacon, and brewed coffee, setting everything out buffet style on the kitchen counter. The smell of food gradually lured everyone downstairs. Olivia Grant appeared last, yawning dramatically, her hair somehow perfectly tasseled despite just waking up. Kyle followed close behind, his arm around her waist. "Oh my God, I am starving," Olivia Grant announced, piling her plate high. "Amanda, you should have woken me earlier. You know how I get when I am hungry." I did know. The entire family knew. Olivia Grant's hunger was always an emergency requiring immediate attention, while I had learned to ignore my own needs entirely. After breakfast, we gathered in the living room around the Christmas tree. Layla Monroe's fingers curled tightly around the crisp wrapping paper. The faint rustle brushed against her ears in the cramped apartment. She closed her eyes, and suddenly she was back in those winters as a child. The sharp scent of cinnamon in steaming hot chocolate, the warm glow of the kitchen light spilling onto the frosted window. She sat alone by the glass, listening to laughter float from the kitchen, feeling like a shadow in her own family. Every gift she'd ever unwrapped, board games, fuzzy socks, had the same bland aftertaste. Obligatory, unchosen, like the faint scent of old perfume lingering long after someone's left the room. Always the second choice, always invisible. Now, years later, the ritual was the same. The gift exchange started youngest to oldest. Olivia Grant, of course, went first. This year, Kyle took the first turn, opening presents from everyone with genuine smiles, including the leather card holder Layla had carefully picked out for him. Olivia Grant tore through her gifts with the same childish excitement she'd always carried, despite being 25. When she ripped open Layla's present, concert tickets to her favorite band, she gave a quick, distracted, "Thanks," before moving on. Those tickets had cost nearly half of Layla's monthly discretionary budget. But Olivia Grant's reaction was no different than when Layla had given her a $10 candle last year. Layla's turn came last, after all the cousins. She opened her gifts carefully, nodding politely. A generic scarf from Aunt Linda. Bath products from a cousin. A gift card from her parents. All standard, impersonal. Nothing that showed they knew her. Nothing that reflected the promotion she'd proudly shared just weeks ago. As the last gift was unwrapped, she caught her father glancing at his watch, exchanging looks with her mother. Then he stood, clearing his throat. "We have one special surprise this year," he announced, smiling wide. "Olivia Grant, your mother and I are so proud of your artistic accomplishments and your bright future. We wanted to show our support." He handed Olivia Grant a small box wrapped in gold paper. Inside was a car key with the Tesla logo shining under the light. Olivia Grant screamed, jumping up and down. "No way! No way! Are you serious?" she shrieked. Her father grinned and led everyone outside. There it was, gleaming in the driveway, a brand-new white Tesla A4, wrapped in an enormous red bow. Layla watched from the doorway, the sharp winter air biting at her cheeks. The scent of fresh snow mixed with the faint rustle of wrapping paper inside. She swallowed hard. Was this the moment she'd been waiting for? Would this finally be a Christmas that made her feel seen? That made her feel worthy? But as Olivia Grant slid into the driver's seat, her laughter echoing in the cold air, Layla felt the familiar ache settle deeper. Recognition, real recognition, was still just out of reach. Was it too much to ask for a place in this family picture? A place that wasn't just background noise? She turned back inside, the door clicking softly behind her, the quiet hum of the apartment wrapping around her like a shield. Tomorrow was another day, another chance to fight for her own worth. But tonight, the silence was louder than ever. The fire crackled, sending little sparks dancing up the brick, the scent of pine and faint trace of rain drifting in from the street below. My family gathered around the living room, laughter bouncing off the walls, the kind of laughter that makes you wonder who's really in on the joke. Through the big window, the city lights blurred against the fog, and I watched Olivia Grant, my sister, still spinning in her new white Tesla, the bow barely off the hood. Dad's voice echoed in my mind. "You deserve this, sweetheart." That was for Olivia Grant. Always Olivia Grant. Reliable transportation for her gallery internship in Baltimore. The same internship our parents had pulled strings for. The one she'd moaned about. Too early, too much, not enough. But here she was, center stage, everyone's favorite, her future gleaming just like that car. I stood on the porch, arms wrapped tight, cold air biting my cheeks, my breath fogging up. Did anyone see me? Did they even remember I was here? We shuffled back inside, fingers numb, toes tingling by the fireplace. The room glowed with the soft amber of string lights, and just as I started to fade into the background again, Mom's voice cut through. "Oh, we almost forgot. Layla, we have something special for you, too." For a wild second, my heart jumped. Was this it? Had they been saving the best for last? Did they finally see me? All my late nights, the promotion, the effort no one ever noticed, was it finally my turn? She handed me a tiny box, wrapped in leftover birthday paper. It was so light, I wondered if it was empty. I peeled back the wrapping, careful not to tear it, feeling everyone's eyes flick toward me. Inside, a pink ceramic piggy bank. Next to it, a crisp $1 bill. I stared, waiting for a hint, a joke, something to explain this. "That's our contribution to your future apartment, honey," Mom said, smiling like she'd handed me a treasure. "You mentioned wanting to buy a place someday. Every journey starts with a single step." The silence was sharp. Even Aunt Linda, the queen of awkward talk, just sipped her cider, looking away. I forced out a, "Wow, thanks." My voice sounded far away, almost echoing. Mom nodded, proud. "At your age, it's smart to think ahead." Was this really all I was worth? Did they think I hadn't noticed the difference? The weight of expectation versus the weight of love? The fire snapped. The windows rattled as a bus roared past outside. For a moment, all I could hear was my own heartbeat, loud and unsteady. Did they see me? Did they know how hard I fought every single day to matter? Was it possible to break free of being the afterthought in your own family? What would it take for them to see me? Not just as the reliable one, not just as the backup plan, but as me. I held the piggy bank in my palm. Cool, smooth, breakable. Tomorrow, I promised myself, I'd start saving for something bigger than their approval. But tonight, as the city hummed below and the firelight flickered across the ceiling, I let the question hang between us, fragile and bright as glass. What if next time I decided what I was worth? What if I stopped waiting for them to tell me? What would that look like? The answer was out there, just beyond the window, in the hush between heartbeats. And I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. Not yet, but soon. Olivia's voice drifted in from the living room, smooth and sharp as fresh ice. She's younger, so she has more time, but you really should be establishing roots soon. She flicked a glance at her nails, polished and perfect. Then she added, "You really should move out of that tiny apartment, Layla. It's kind of sad for someone your age." My apartment. My fiercely earned, meticulously kept apartment in downtown Baltimore, never once visited by my family. Too far, too inconvenient. I paid every bill myself, alone, while Olivia's rent was quietly covered by our parents. The air in the room grew thin, heavy with unspoken things. I stood up fast. I need some fresh air. No one looked up. Not Mom, not Dad, not even Olivia, already absorbed in her phone. I stepped out into the yard, the scent of snow and distant car exhaust mixing in the cold. My boots crunched over icy grass as I walked to the old maple tree. Childhood swings still hung there, chains stiff and cold. I sat down. The metal bit through my gloves. I let the tears come. Finally. 32 years of squeezing myself smaller, hoping someone would notice. 32 years of watching Olivia receive the warmth, the praise, the easy affection. Did they know? Did they even care? The piggy bank and single dollar, wrapped as a gift, felt like a message more than anything. You're on your own. You always have been. The sky was a hard winter blue. My breath curled in the air. The world felt silent except for the distant rumble of a city bus, the brittle rustle of leftover leaves. I remembered those summers when we were kids. Olivia, lighter, louder, was lifted high on the swings by our parents, her laughter filling the yard. My own swing barely moved. I called out. Each time, my voice got smaller. They always promised next time, next turn, next year. But next time never came. Now, with cold soaking through my jeans and tears freezing on my cheeks, something inside me finally gave way. But in that breaking, a new clarity emerged. This would never change. Not for them. Not for me. Unless I chose differently. No one was coming to save me. If I wanted respect, I would have to claim it. If I wanted love, maybe I had to start by giving it to myself. I sat there until my fingers went numb, until the last tear dried. Decision settled in my chest. Heavy, but solid. I could not go back to that house and pretend nothing was wrong. I wouldn't. If my family couldn't change, then I would. Walking back inside, I noticed the kitchen. Breakfast dishes piled up. Left for someone else. For me, probably. Upstairs, Olivia's voice floated down, bright with excitement as she told friends about her new Tesla. For the first time, I didn't feel the old ache of envy or disappointment. Just resolve. I was done measuring my worth by their attention. I was done waiting for permission to matter. The city lights blinked beyond the window as I gathered my things. My life, my choices, my story. Maybe it was time I finally wrote the next chapter. One where I chose myself. Would they notice? Would they care? Maybe. Maybe not. But standing in that quiet house, I realized the answer didn't matter as much as I once thought. What would it look like to stop asking for a seat at their table and build my own? The rain started to fall, soft against the glass, washing the old season away. I stepped out, feeling the cold, clean air on my face. For the first time, the future felt wide open. The swing creaked in the yard behind me, empty now, but waiting. From the living room, the dull roar of a football game drifted up. My dad's voice, sharp with commentary, filled the space, but no one noticed I was gone. No one came to check if I was okay. I slipped upstairs to my cramped storage room bedroom and closed the door softly behind me. Sitting on the edge of my bed, I pulled out my phone and dialed Samantha. "Merry Christmas," she said, warmth in her voice. "How's the family circus this year, Sam?" My voice cracked. It happened again. Worse than ever. The Tesla for my sister and me. A piggy bank. My hands trembled, words barely steady. "Are you kidding me?" Samantha's anger was immediate. "A piggy bank while she gets a Tesla? That isn't just unfair. It's cruel." "I know," I whispered. "I can't do this anymore." "Then don't," she said simply. "My guest room is yours. Seattle's just 3 hours from Baltimore. Your company has an office here. Make the move." Her words hit me like a thunderclap. I could leave. Not just today, but for good. Put miles between me and this pain. But Christmas. I hesitated. What was I holding on to? The illusion of family harmony? The tradition of being invisible? "Christmas will happen, with or without you," Samantha said gently. "But ask yourself, do you want to spend one more minute feeling this way when you have another choice?" After we hung up, silence wrapped around me. My job could transfer me to Seattle. It wasn't a dream. It was an option I'd turned down before. My apartment lease was month to month, no chains except the ones I'd built inside myself. Years of hoping for love that never came. Then my eyes caught something under my pillow, an envelope with faded edges I hadn't seen before. I pulled it out, heart pounding. I tore it open, expecting a forgotten bill. But inside was a note, in my father's handwriting, dated weeks ago. He apologized for missing my birthday. Explained the Tesla wasn't favoritism. It was a desperate gift after a secret health scare with my sister. The story I'd lived in, shattered. I sat back, breath catching. All this time I'd been trapped by what I thought was true. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe there was more to the story. Maybe I could finally stop carrying the weight of others' silence. The rain tapped softly against the window, the scent of wet earth filling the room. Outside, the city lights blinked quietly. I folded the note carefully, a strange calm settling in my chest. Would they ever truly see me? Maybe not. But maybe that didn't matter anymore. Because for the first time, I wasn't waiting for permission to matter. I was ready to write my own story, to build a life where I chose myself, finally free. I opened my suitcase, hands steady, breath shallow. Each item I packed, my high school graduation tassel, an old photo album, the wooden box Grandpa carved, felt like a piece of my past, heavy with memories. The rain outside had picked up, drumming against the window, filling the room with the scent of wet concrete and faded cedar. I moved quietly, not just gathering clothes, but sifting through what was left of my childhood in this downtown apartment. In the bottom drawer, I found a stack of old journals. The pages were thin and worn, covered in entries from a girl desperate to be seen. Page after page, I poured out confusion over my parents' favoritism, blaming myself, always promising to work harder, to earn the love that was given to Olivia so easily. How many times had I told myself that if I just did more, they'd finally notice me? My mind raced. Should I finally confront them? Lay it all bare? Demand answers? The thought left me drained. Would it even matter? Or would it just mean more denials, more gaslighting, more reminders that my reality was somehow the problem? The ache inside me deepened. Was I really ready to keep pouring myself into a story where I was always the afterthought? Instead, I grabbed a piece of stationery from the old desk. The pen felt heavy in my hand as I wrote, each word deliberate. I'm returning to Seattle today. The difference between Olivia's gift and mine made some things clear. I need space to process our family dynamic, and what part, if any, I want it to play in my future. Please don't contact me for a while. Layla. No apologies, no explanations. Just a single boundary. Quiet, solid, maybe the first I'd ever set. I folded the note, heart pounding, and placed it on the neatly made bed. Suitcase in one hand, the box of memories in the other, I slipped down the hallway. The house was silent except for the muffled laughter from the living room, where the family was glued to a Christmas movie marathon. No one glanced up as I passed the doorway. The contrast stung. A room full of people, and yet I'd never felt more alone. In the kitchen, I set the note where someone would see it. My fingers lingered on the countertop, cool and smooth, grounding me in this moment. Would they read my words and finally understand? Or would the cycle just continue, another story twisted and dismissed? My throat tightened. Did I even need their understanding anymore? Or was this moment, this quiet act of leaving, more about freeing myself? As I stepped outside, the rain brushed my face, sharp and cold. The city lights blurred in the distance. I took a breath, the air thick with the scent of rain and possibility. For the first time, I wasn't chasing their approval. I was choosing myself. Could I really build something new? Was this how it started? Not with a fight, but with a silent exit? My heart hammered as I walked toward my car, my world shifting with every step. What would happen when they finally read my words? Would this be the storm that finally broke the silence, or just another chapter in the story they refused to see? The door closed softly behind me, and for the first time in years, I let the world fall quiet, ready, terrified maybe, to see what came next. I looked around at the familiar space the refrigerator covered with Olivia Grant's childhood artwork, the height chart on the wall that stopped tracking my growth after age 10, but continued with Olivia Grant's measurements until she left for college. The bulletin board displaying Olivia Grant's gallery internship acceptance letter, but nothing of my recent promotion. This house contained no evidence that I mattered here. Perhaps it never had. I loaded my belongings into my car, a 7-year-old Honda I had purchased entirely on my own. Before getting in, I stood in the driveway looking at the house, decorated with twinkling lights, smoke rising gently from the chimney. The perfect holiday card image, hiding years of invisible wounds. Next to my car sat Olivia Grant's gleaming new Tesla, the giant red bow still attached. I removed the piggy bank from my coat pocket and placed it carefully on my dashboard, a reminder of why I was leaving and why I should not look back. Snow had begun falling again as I backed out of the driveway. Large, soft flakes descended in the gathering dusk, muffling the world in white silence. Through the living room window, I could see my family silhouetted against the television's glow, unaware that their oldest daughter was driving out of their lives. The mixture of grief and liberation that flooded through me was overwhelming. Tears blurred my vision as I turned onto the main road, but I did not stop. For the first time in 32 years, I was choosing myself. The road ahead was uncertain, but it was mine to travel on my own terms. 3 blocks away, I pulled over briefly to enter Samantha's address into my GPS. 3 hours to Seattle. 3 hours to a new beginning. As I merged onto the highway, heading north through the snow, I finally allowed myself to say aloud what I had known for years, but never admitted. They do not love me the way I need to be loved, and that is not my fault. The dashboard lights threw a soft blue glow across my face as I drove through the thickening snow, every mile carrying me further from the only apartment I'd ever known. With the heater humming, I tried to steady my breathing, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. That's when the memory came. Unbidden, sharp as glass. My fingers tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles white. Suddenly, I was 10 again. standing barefoot on the cold kitchen tile in downtown Baltimore. The air smelled of rain and lemon cleaner. My mother's back to me, hair pulled tight, her voice bright as she praised Olivia Grant's straight A's. I waited, clutching my own report card, my best yet, a B+ in math. When I finally offered it, she barely looked. Her words landed softly but cut deep. Try harder next time. The hum of the old fridge, the clatter of a spoon in a mug, the ache of being invisible. It sank into my bones, became the silence I carried everywhere. How many times had I tried to be seen? How many times had I convinced myself that if I just worked harder, they'd finally notice? Did they even know who I was, beyond the bills paid on time or the chores done without asking? Back in the present, the snow outside blurred the world. My phone buzzed against the cup holder. For a split second, hope flickered. Maybe Samantha, checking in? But the screen lit up with my mother's name. Do not forget to pay the utility bills due on the 28th. No. Are you safe? No. Where are you? Just a reminder, as if my entire existence could be measured in deadlines and account balances. My mouth went dry. Another buzz. The phone again. Internet payment processes tomorrow. My father, too. No warmth, no worry. Just numbers, responsibility, duty. Was I ever more than the family accountant? I stared at the screen, heart pounding with something between anger and heartbreak. A car horn jolted me back. I gripped the wheel, blinking hard, headlights slicing through the snow. The phone rang. My mother's voice on voicemail, annoyed, not anxious. Amanda, where did you go? We are about to have dessert and your aunt is asking for you. This is very inconsiderate timing. Inconsiderate timing. As if the moment my heart finally cracked open should have fit neatly into the family schedule. As if my breaking point was nothing but an inconvenience. More calls came, each one a reminder. I was only missed for what I could do, not for who I was. The car filled with the scent of wet pavement, the low murmur of a distant train. I let the phone ring, the world outside growing whiter, quieter. What does it mean to belong if you're never really seen? How long can a person carry the weight of being overlooked before something inside demands to be heard? I pressed the piggy bank on the dashboard, its cool ceramic grounding me. That silent promise, I will not go back. Tears stung my eyes, but I kept driving north, the city lights of Baltimore shrinking behind me. Every mile, every snowflake, felt like shedding a layer of the old me. The dutiful daughter, the reliable fixer, the invisible child. Ahead, Seattle waited. A place with no family history, no expectations, just possibility. Would they ever notice I was gone? Did it even matter anymore? The hum of the tires, the whispering snow, the chance to finally become someone new. I breathed in, slow and steady, the taste of freedom sharp as winter air. For the first time, I wasn't running away. I was running towards something, myself, and this time, I wouldn't let anyone tell me I wasn't enough. The neon Gloria's sign buzzed overhead like a heartbeat about to flatline. Snow hissed against the plate glass window while Layla Monroe stared at her untouched coffee. 1 minute it steamed, next it cooled, just like their words. Ring. Layla, honey, you're worrying everyone. Ring. This is unforgivable timing. Every syllable scraped cold metal on raw skin. She tasted pennies in her mouth, rage or blood, she wasn't sure. The piggy bank's loose quarter rattled in her coat pocket. 27 cents of childhood allowance, mocking the Tesla she would never drive. A Christmas tree air freshener swayed from the next booth, smelling of plastic pine and lost promises. Rain scent drifted, even though it was snow. Her breath fogged the window, the cloud shaping her mother's profile before it vanished. Where was the line between selfish and survival? The kind waitress, maybe Gloria herself, returned, slid a slice of apple pie across like medicine. First bites free for travelers with tired eyes. Layla felt her throat thicken. She hadn't cried yet. The tears felt stuck behind her heart, barricaded by years of "be quiet." Now the dam quivered. A fork clinked china. The crust flaked like old wallpaper, cinnamon rising like memory. One forkful. Sweet, too sweet, burning. Could sugar cauterize grief? Her phone lit again. Return before dessert. A bitter laugh escaped, startling even her. Gloria's gentle glance across the empty stools. Sometimes the best direction is out. Layla blinked. Outside, the odometer waited, ticking like a distant drum. 3 words glowed on the dashboard. 2,467 miles to Seattle. Just numbers. Just escape. She left a 10 under the plate, pushed through the door, wind slapping her cheeks awake like a dare. Snowflakes clung to her lashes like fragile witnesses. The engine coughed, caught. She pulled onto the highway, headlights punching fresh holes in the darkness. Every mile erased Baltimore letters from her mind. 27 miles in, a lone billboard glared. You are more than what they remember. She exhaled, the first full breath in years. The snow kept falling, but the sky looked bigger now, wide enough for a quiet declaration. My future starts beyond this storm. The bulbs dim. One click, then another. Shadows crawl between booths like spilled molasses. Gloria leans in, voice low. You okay, sweetie? Layla lifts her fork. Cinnamon burns her tongue. The crust tastes of pine cleaner and regret. A gust. The door sighs open, winter sliding in like a ghost. The air freshener flips, plastic tree spinning. Gloria's apron pocket sags. A photo slips. 2 girls on a sunlit lawn, cheeks freckled, arms linked. Layla's pulse stalls. Hey, where'd you get that? Gloria freezes. Hands tremble like windshield wipers stuck on slow. Her gaze drifts past Layla, through time itself. That's my sister, she whispers. The room shrinks. Coffee steam curls into a question mark. Layla blinks. The taller child, Olivia. The other, smaller, shy, unmistakably younger, Gloria. Gloria swallows. I haven't spoken to her in 31 Christmases. Rain smell drifts again, impossible, electric. The jukebox hiccups a Nat King Cole line, then silence. Layla exhales. So we both left. She nudges the photo across scratched laminate. Gloria nods once. Some doors you close for good. She wipes the counter. The cloth squeaks like old chalk. Layla pockets the snapshot. A silent promise. Maybe someday the women in the picture will meet for pie. Outside, the snow thickens. Taillights bleed pink on the white sheet. 3 miles up the interstate, a vacancy sign flicks on. Gloria rings the bell. Room 2's got clean sheets. She hands Layla a key on a plastic daisy tag. Lock it, dream, breathe. Tomorrow's a new diner, maybe a new sister. Layla's boots crunch. 27 cents still rattles. It sounds lighter now, almost like hope. I thanked Gloria, slid 2 crumpled 5s under the empty plate. Girl, that's a week's groceries, she laughed, but her eyes misted. Some kindnesses scream for recognition. Mine had never learned. Back in the Civic, snow packed the wipers like wet cotton. Forecast blinked red. Whiteout after midnight. I pressed call. Hey, Sam. Breath fogged the windshield. About 100 miles out. Roads turning evil. Stop. Live. Tomorrow's Eggs Benedict in Seattle. Click. Decision done. The blue spruce motor court flickered green vacancy. Room 12 smelled of pine sol and radiator dust. I kicked off wet boots. Quilt scratched my calves. Polyester from a decade of other people's skin. Silence pulsed. Then the flashback hit. I'm 9 again. Kitchen tile cold under sock soles. Brother tearing wrapping paper, ribbon curling like gold hair. Laughter. I press my spine to the pantry door. Vanilla candles burn. Birthday song rising. Mom kisses his forehead. I count crumbs on the floor, invisible. Sunlight slants, dusty and sweet. That tilted beam becomes the first bruise on my heart. Recognition feels like oxygen when you've been underwater since birth. I snap back. The motel lamp buzzes. My laptop glows blue, alien in the dim. Fingers hover. Subject, immediate Seattle transfer. I type like I'm signing parole papers. Next browser tab, apartments under 1900, pet-friendly, south of downtown. I color code neighborhoods. Capitol Hill yellow, Fremont green, Ballard orange. Budget spreadsheets bloom like digital flowers. Tasks tame my pulse. By 11:47 p.m., I have 3 viewings Monday, a U-Haul quote, and the courage to hit send. Midnight wind howls off the Cascades. Snow lashes the window. Somewhere a semi grinds gears on I-5. I curl under that brutal quilt. Heartbeat slows. Last thought, tomorrow I'm nobody's afterthought. 5:43 a.m. Alarm. Sky scrubbed clean, sun low and razor sharp. Ice crackles as the Civic coughs alive. I speed dial. Amanda. My boss answers, alarm in her tone. It's Layla. Circumstances changed. Need that Seattle desk. Remote until March. A pause. Keys clack. Approved. HR loop you in. Stay safe. Click. Engine turns over. Snow glints like diamonds on asphalt. I whisper to the windshield. Your move. New life. To my relief, she was understanding and supportive. The Seattle office has been asking for someone with your skills. I can make this happen by January 15th. Will that work? One administrative hurdle cleared. As I prepared to continue my journey, my car made an ominous clicking sound when I turned the key. After 3 attempts, it reluctantly started, but a warning light glowed on the dashboard. 10 mi down the highway, the engine began making a concerning noise. I took the next exit into a small town called Maplewood and found an auto shop open despite the holiday week. The mechanic, a middle-aged man named Marcus with grease-stained hands and kind eyes, examined my car while I waited anxiously in the small office. "Alternator is going," he announced after 20 minutes. "I can fix it, but I will need to order the part. 2 days, maybe 3 with the holiday." I must have looked stricken because he quickly added, "There is a decent hotel in town, walking distance from here, and I will give you a fair price on the repair. Promise, another delay, another unexpected expense, but also I realized another opportunity to practice my new resolution, facing problems directly rather than suffering in silence. "Thank you," I told Marcus. "I appreciate your honesty." While waiting for my car, I explored Maplewood, a charming town of Victorian buildings and small businesses decorated for the holidays. In a coffee shop. I opened my laptop and began the process of setting boundaries with my family. I blocked their numbers on my phone, set up email filters to send their messages to a separate folder. I could check when emotionally prepared and removed them from my social media. Each action was both painful and liberating, like lancing a wound to allow healing to begin. On December 29th, with my car repaired and the roads clear, I finally completed my journey to Seattle. Samantha met me at the door of her apartment building with a hug so fierce it nearly knocked me over. Layla Monroe stared at the chipped glass pig on the nightstand. Street lamp yellow leaked over its snout. Her fingers froze midair. Was the lone dime inside her escape fund? Or proof she was still the family afterthought? She listened. Rain whispered against Samantha's window, soft, steady, unjudging. She pressed her ear to the room's silence. No ringing phone. No guilt-trip emails. Just the wet leaf scent drifting up from the alley. "Open it, Layla." She flipped the rubber stopper. A single brass key slid out, cool, almost alive. On the tag, Locker B12, King Street Station. She exhaled. What truth did they hide there? Cut to black. 3 days later, Seattle soaked her hair as she walked the platform. Locker B12 popped open with the hollow sound of old tin. Inside, an envelope marked for Amanda, her childhood nickname, sharp as a slap. She opened it with shaky nails. 5 crisp hundreds lay flat, and a note in Frank Monroe's block letters. "We never forgot your birthday. We just didn't bother to join it." A line crossed out, then rewritten as an afterthought. "You deserve better. This is it. No strings." Layla's pulse rang inside her ears. Was this apology or payoff? She stuffed cash and note into her purse. Heart galloping, she called Samantha on the spot. "Meet me?" Samantha answered, "I'm walking toward the station now. Stay where I can see you." Under the departure board, they hugged. Samantha smelled of cinnamon and rain. Layla whispered, "He said I deserve better." Samantha's breath hitched. "Then don't let him write the epilogue." Layla unfolded paper in her palm like a fragile map. She studied the smeared crossing out. Apology and dismissal coexisted in the same ink. Samantha steered her to the coffee kiosk. "Let's decide what this truly means." Across the street from Layla's new apartment, December's lights blinked to January's dusk. Samantha brewed cocoa. Layla sat cross-legged on the couch, clutching the stained envelope. Steam rose between them. She asked, voice catching, "Do cash and 4 crossed-out words cancel 26 years of silence?" Samantha handed her a blank sheet. "Only you can finish the sentence." Layla picked up a pen. She addressed a group of text to Frank, Margaret, Olivia. Short, steady. "I am not for sale. I decline your transaction." Then she blocked the numbers for real this time. The apartment felt suddenly taller, like the ceiling lifted. She turned to Samantha. "Let these 500 buy groceries for us and a stranger. Generosity instead of guilt." Samantha's grin cracked the rainy night. They walked to the shelter the next morning. Cash donated, name withheld. Layla stepped back beneath low gray sky. Rain cooled her face, clean as truth. She told herself, the past can't feed the future, but generosity can. The ceiling fan spins. Steam curls off yesterday's Tom Ka. Your phone vibrates on the counter, once, again, then silence. It is Margaret Carter's name that stills your heartbeat. She has forwarded an email chain. Subject line, "Prayers for Olivia." 3 screenshots show Olivia's boss denying her transfer. Below, Margaret writes, "So proud of how she handles hardship. Pride flavored only for one daughter." You read each word twice. The lime leaves in the soup turn sharp against your tongue. Seattle had cheered you, hadn't it? Corner office view. First solo pitch. Colleagues who listened when you spoke, yet a single forwarded thread collapses weeks of triumph. You set the spoon down. Outside, rain whispers against the window like tiny gossip. You scroll to an earlier message, unsent, still in drafts. "Hey Mom, got promoted. Thought you'd like to know." Your thumb hovers over delete. A single, bitter laugh escapes. Half chuckle, half sob. The kettle clicks off. Night swells wider than the apartment. You open the fridge. Leftover Thai sits lonely on the shelf. Its lemongrass scent now carries a metallic aftertaste. Phone buzzes again. "Unknown number, you left us no choice." Block. Another unknown. Your mother's crying, call her. Block. They use every tool, guilt, worry, public pity, anything but the words you once begged to hear. Proud of you. Proud you walked away. You carry the soup to the sink. Tip it. Slow swirl into the drain. Watch noodles disappear like old apologies. Water steams up. Kisses your cheeks. You imagine it's Seattle fog, not tears. Imagine Margaret on the other side wondering why you won't answer. Imagine. That is all. You set the phone on airplane mode. The quiet rings louder than any voicemail. Outside, the city glows, indifferent and alive. Tomorrow, the West Side pitch awaits. You will stand, slide drawings across the table. No one will compare you to Olivia. Tonight, you pour water into a glass. Drink. Taste only water. Nothing bitter hiding in it. You whisper to the empty kitchen, "I earned this silence." The apartment absorbs the sentence like fresh drywall drinking paint. Somewhere inside, beams hold a little straighter. Layla Monroe sits under the humming office light, her heartbeat loud in her wrists. The heater breathes like someone listening at the keyhole. She clutches the stack of printed emails. White, thin, harmless looking, until they start shouting inside her skull. Dr. Keller's office smells faintly of rain on warm asphalt, a Baltimore spring slipping indoors. Each sheet smells like ink and old accusations. Layla's voice shakes as she reads one aloud. "Is that what you want, to make me sick with worry?" The words taste like copper wire. She stops. Silence stretches between her and Dr. Keller, long as the night she moved into the downtown apartment, suitcase wheels screaming on cracked concrete. Dr. Keller's eyes are steady, silver-streaked hair catching stray light. Layla feels the weight of every unanswered text, every voicemail, every prayer chain started without consent. She whispers, "If I respond, am I telling them their story is still the only one?" Her throat tightens. "Or can I finally tell mine?" A pause. No answer. Only the soft click of the clock's second hand moving. Layla looks at the paper. Her own name, printed at the bottom, looks strange, like a borrowed coat. She imagines her mother sitting at a kitchen table lit by a cracked phone screen, Olivia beside her, both waiting for a reply that might never come. She imagines herself at tomorrow's West Side pitch, slides crisp, voice steady, no one asking why she isn't calling apartment. She imagines pressing send on a draft she hasn't written. Dr. Keller speaks softly. "You don't have to answer tonight." Layla exhales. The sound is small, almost nothing, but the room feels wider. She gathers the papers, edges sharp, corners curling from the heat of her palms. She stands. The carpet under her shoes smells like library dust and new paint. She steps toward the door. Her shadow stretches long across the floorboards, tall and separate from anyone else's. She pauses. Hand on the knob, she looks back. One question hangs in the air, quieter than silence. Will she carry the old script, or write a fresh page? Slowly, I began building a community of people who saw me, who valued my contributions, who did not measure me against an idealized sister or impossible standard. My career flourished in this new environment. The West Side development pitch succeeded largely due to my sustainable design elements earning me recognition from senior management and a bonus that I used to buy real furniture instead of the second-hand pieces that had followed me from Baltimore. "We are putting you forward for the Emerson Green Design Award," my director announced in March. "Your innovation on the wildlife corridor integration was exactly what the committee looks for." Professional validation felt foreign but wonderful, like wearing a beautiful coat that I kept checking to make sure truly belonged to me. As my confidence grew professionally, so did my ability to maintain boundaries personally. I began responding selectively to family communications, keeping messages brief and factual without being drawn into emotional manipulation. "I am safe and well," I wrote in response to my mother's increasingly frantic emails. "I need space to process our relationship. I will reach out when I am ready for more communication." This measured response triggered an escalation. Relatives I barely spoke to began messaging me about breaking your poor mother's heart. My father's emails became stern lectures about family obligation and gratitude. Olivia Grant vacillated between angry accusations and tearful pleas depending on her mood. Then came the nuclear option. My Aunt Linda shared that my mother had been hospitalized with chest pains, strongly implying it was my fault for causing her stress. The old Amanda would have immediately abandoned her boundaries and rushed apartment, accepting blame and responsibility. The new Amanda called the hospital directly confirmed my mother had been treated for indigestion and released the same day, then resumed her life without guilt. In April, just as I was finding my rhythm in Seattle, my father appeared unannounced at my office building. I spotted him in the lobby as I returned from lunch, looking older and more haggarded than I remembered, clutching a manila envelope and scanning faces as people entered. My initial instinct was to hide to avoid the confrontation. Instead, I approached him directly. "Dad," I said simply, "how did you find my workplace?" He turned momentarily startled, then composed himself. "Your cousin works in HR." She looked up the company transfer records. "A privacy violation I would address later." "Why are you here?" "We need to talk," he said properly, not through text messages and emails. I nodded toward a coffee shop across the street. 20 minutes, that is all I can give you during my workday. The cafe was busy enough to ensure our conversation would remain civil. We sat at a corner table, an untouched Americano before him, a green tea steaming between my hands. "Your mother and I do not understand why you have done this," he began without preamble. "Running away over a Christmas gift seems extreme. Even for you. Even for you." The implied criticism was so familiar, I almost smiled. Some things never changed. "It was not about the gift," I said quietly. "The gift was merely the final example of a lifelong pattern." "What pattern?" His genuine confusion was perhaps the most painful part. Olivia Grant receives a $35,000 car. I receive a piggy bank and $1. Can you truly not see the disparity? He shifted uncomfortably. Olivia Grant needed a car. You have your Honda. A car I bought myself, just like I paid for my education, my apartment, my entire life, while you and Mom gave Olivia Grant everything. That is not fair, Amanda. We raised you, put food on the table, kept a roof over your head. You did the legal minimum for me while giving Olivia Grant every advantage. College tuition, rent support, European trips, now a luxury car. You were always the responsible one, he countered. You never needed the help. I needed the recognition, I said, my voice finally breaking. I needed to know I mattered as much as she did, that my efforts were seen, that I was loved equally, not just assigned the role of responsible child. While Olivia Grant got to be precious, my father stared into his coffee, silent for a long moment. When he looked up, his expression held a mixture of defensiveness and dawning realization. "We never meant to make you feel less important," he said finally. "Your mother and I are proud of you. You have always been so capable, so independent. Independence forced upon a child is not a gift, Dad. It is an abandonment." He had no response to that. We sat in uncomfortable silence until I checked my watch and stood. "I have to get back to work. I have a client meeting. Will you come apartment?" he asked. "Your mother misses you." "This is my apartment now," I replied. "I am building a life here, a good one, and we are not part of it." His voice held genuine hurt. "I do not know yet," I answered honestly. "That depends on whether you and Mom can respect who I actually am, rather than who you needed me to be for Olivia Grant's sake." I left him sitting there returning to my office with shaking hands, but a clear conscience. For the first time I had spoken my truth without apologizing for it, without minimizing it to make someone else comfortable. That night I added another $1 to the piggy bank that now sat on my windowsill. $1 for each week I had maintained my boundaries. $13 that represented not financial growth but personal strength, the most valuable currency I had ever possessed. May brought an invitation. I had been dreading my cousin Jessica's wedding scheduled for June in Baltimore. The cream-colored envelope sat on my kitchen counter for 3 days before I finally opened it, running my finger over the embossed floral design while contemplating what my response would be. Jessica and I had been close as children before growing apart in adulthood. She stands at the hotel window, city lights blinking like dropped pearls across rain-slicked Baltimore. Layla Monroe. The scent of wet pavement rises, iron and earth mingling with nerves. A phone vibrates. Margaret Carter, direct message. You kept the lilac ribbon from Jessie's 8th birthday. I still have it. Lilac. She hasn't smelled lilacs since forever. Fingers shake. Why remember that scrap of ribbon now? Hope fights suspicion. Could someone else feel invisible too? The room pulses, her breath small, quick. A cousin, an ally, or a trap. 2 minutes to ceremony. She pockets the ribbon, finds courage she didn't know she had. Garden roses drip. Frank Monroe looks up, meets her eyes. Guilt flickers. Layla doesn't flinch. For the first time, she is not the quiet child. She is the architect of her own return. The spoons clink against porcelain. Laughter echoes. Jessica leans in beside Margaret like the sun on her shoulder. I'm 9 again. A spelling quiz hot in my fist, 100% in red ink. I wait. The room smells like drip coffee and warm pancakes. Words about Jessica's art ribbon float over my head. They never land on me. Invisible. Like cold milk spilled, seeping through jeans, sticking to skin. The ache still drips each time someone speaks my sister's name only. I blink back into Baltimore 2024. String lights above this warehouse reception. Rain taps the skylight like knuckles on guilt. Jessica's laugh peels across the room. I envy not the groom beside her, but the way no one questions her right to joy. Samantha squeezes my hand under the table. We're safe among strangers wearing rented tuxes. Dessert arrives. Lemon cake, bright as sunlight I rarely tasted as a kid. Then a shadow. Margaret stands over us. Careful smile too bright under Edison bulbs. Could we talk? Everyone at table 12 pretends not to watch. I follow her past the bar where gin smells like pine forests. Our heels echo, then sink into an ornate rug the color of dried blood. You look healthy, she says, a diagnosis disguised as compliment. Cattle agree with you. Congratulations to Jessica. The wedding is lovely. I keep my shoulders level. We miss you. Your father hasn't laughed since Christmas. Olivia Grant's in therapy now. She pauses, waiting for the apology programmed into my tongue. It doesn't arrive. Why? The word cracks between us like winter ice. What did we do that was so terrible you vanished? The room tilts. Rain scent sneaks in through a cracked window. I'm 9 again, quiz burning, milk chilling, voice stuck. But tonight the ribbon is in my pocket. A purple sliver that means someone once saw me. I look at Margaret, her eyes still fishing for guilt. I left a space, not cruelty. I answered every "is she alive" text. I told you I needed air, yet you stayed here, breathing for both of us. Mom, imagine a room where only one child lights up. Imagine feeling the switch never flips for you. I exhale, voice steady, almost kind. I'm here tonight because Jessica matters. I'm here in pieces because I matter too. Silence ripples wider than any ocean. Margaret's mask slips. Behind it, fear, remorse, love strangled by habit. Jessica's first dance begins. Guitars swell, guests circle like fireflies. I slip past Margaret. She doesn't follow. Samantha meets me at the floor's edge. You okay? Still counting. We smile small. Later, under city lights reflecting off damp brick, I press the lilac ribbon to my lips. $13 for 13 weeks of new rules. The 14th week starts now. The question was so genuine, her bewilderment so complete that I momentarily doubted my own experience. Had I imagined the years of differential treatment, had I overreacted to the piggy bank incident? Number that self-doubt was the old pattern reasserting itself. Mom, I said carefully, we should not have this conversation here at Jessica's wedding. Then, when you will just disappear again tomorrow. I considered my options. Perhaps facing this directly was the only way forward. Tomorrow morning, I decided, breakfast at my hotel, 9 a.m. You, Dad, and me. We can talk then. She nodded, relief visible in her shoulders. We will be there. I returned to Samantha, who raised an eyebrow in question. Family breakfast tomorrow, I explained. The reckoning has been scheduled. Later that evening, as the reception wound down, Olivia Grant approached me near the coat check. She looked different, thinner, less confident, her designer clothes replaced by something more modest. "Hey," she said awkwardly. "Your hair looks nice, shorter." "Thanks," I replied, unsure how to navigate this interaction. "How have you been?" She shrugged, looking down at her shoes. No longer expensive heels, but practical flats. "The car got repossessed. Dad lost his job in February. Things are kind of a mess." The news surprised me, but also explained my father's haggarded appearance. "I am sorry to hear that." "Yeah, well," she twisted her fingers together nervously. "I got a real job, finally. Receptionist at a dentist office. Not glamorous, but it pays regularly." "That is good," I said, genuinely pleased for her. "Stability is underrated." She glanced up, meeting my eyes directly. "I did not understand before why you left. I thought you were just jealous of the car." "It was never about the car, Olivia Grant." "I know that now." She hesitated, then added quietly. "I never realized how much they did for me until they could not anymore. Or how little they did for you. I'm sorry I was part of that." Her acknowledgement, however, belated, loosened something tight in my chest. "Thank you for saying that." We parted with an awkward half-hug, not quite reconciled, but perhaps on the path toward understanding. Back at the hotel, I prepared mentally for the morning's confrontation, listing key points I wanted to express without being derailed by emotion or manipulation. "You have done the work," Samantha reminded me before retreating to her adjoining room. "You are not the same person who left at Christmas." My parents arrived precisely at 9, dressed formally as if for church rather than a difficult conversation. We sat at a corner table in the hotel restaurant, the remains of my continental breakfast pushed aside to make room for the emotional feast about to be served. "Thank you for coming." I began taking control of the narrative immediately. "I think it is important we discuss what happened at Christmas and the years leading up to it." My father cleared his throat. "Amanda, first I want to say that I lost my position at the firm. The economic downturn hit us hard. Your mother has taken a part-time job to help with expenses. I am truly sorry about your job, Dad," I said sincerely. "That must be difficult." "We had to sell the Tesla," my mother added. Olivia Grant was very upset, but we had no choice. I nodded, waiting for them to connect these developments to our larger conversation. When they did not, I realized I would need to guide them. I left at Christmas because the disparity between Olivia Grant's gift and mine symbolized a lifetime of unequal treatment. I stated plainly. The car versus piggy bank was simply the final evidence that I would never be valued equally in our family. "That is ridiculous," my father began. But my mother placed a restraining hand on his arm. "I never thought of it that way," she said slowly. "The piggy bank was just a joke, really. Something cute." "Would you have given Olivia Grant a piggy bank and $1 while giving me a $35,000 car?" I asked. The question hung in the air unanswerable because we all knew the truth. "We never meant to make you feel less loved," my mother finally said, her voice small. "You were always so capable, so independent. Olivia Grant needed more guidance, more support." "I was independent because I had to be," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "No one was going to do things for me the way you both did for Olivia Grant. I learned that lesson very early." My father looked uncomfortable but finally spoke. "Perhaps we took your responsibility for granted. You never complained. I complained constantly. I corrected him. You just never listened. Or you dismissed my feelings as jealousy or pettiness. We were doing our best." My mother said, tears forming. "Parents are not perfect." I know that I acknowledged. I do not expect perfection, but I do expect awareness and a willingness to acknowledge when patterns are harmful. We talked for nearly 2 hours, covering painful memories and patterns that had defined our family dynamic. My parents oscillated between defensiveness and genuine remorse as the conversation progressed. They had not come prepared to accept full responsibility, but neither did they completely deny my experience. "What happens now?" my father asked as we prepared to leave. "Will you come back to Baltimore?" "No," I said firmly. "My life is in Seattle now. A good life that I have built for myself." "Will we see you again?" My mother's voice wavered. "Yes," I decided in that moment. "But on different terms. I cannot and will not return to the old dynamic. If you want a relationship with me, it must be one of mutual respect and equal standing." They nodded, neither fully understanding nor completely rejecting the new boundaries I had established. "Perhaps you could visit Seattle sometime," I offered, "see my apartment, meet some of my friends. A small opening, carefully controlled, the beginning of a new kind of relationship if they were willing to build it." The apartment door clicks shut behind them. Silence wraps around Layla like a blanket she wishes would smother the echo of excuses. She smells the lingering perfume her mother left on the couch, a too-sweet lily scent that clashes with the crisp December air drifting in from the cracked window. Outside, rain pings softly on the fire escape. Tick, 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 like a metronome counting down the seconds until she can breathe again. Fingers tremble. She reaches for the familiar pink piggy bank on her mantel. Smooth ceramic. Cold gilt. 1 year ago, she emptied it, counted every coin, then fed it one crumpled dollar bill each time she chose her own Sunday plans instead of driving to the family brunch in Baltimore. A ritual, not superstition. Proof she could carry her own worth inside hollow china bones. Flashback. Late at night in her childhood bedroom, Layla listened to muffled laughter drift from the living room. Her siblings gathered around their parents. Popcorn butter and synthetic carpet lingered in the hall. She pressed her cheek to cool window glass, tracing whirls of condensation. Unshed tears salted her tongue. They shimmered in the neon blue glow of the bedside clock. Each tick marked another minute she wasn't invited to the movie night she could hear, smell, almost taste. Now, muscle memory tightens her shoulders. A notification pings on her phone. One message from Olivia Grant, short, casual. "Miss you. Saw your name in the paper. Proud." She stares at the tiny glowing words until they blur. Why does 8 syllables feel heavier than 35 years of silence? She pockets the phone. She breathes. Marcus arrives, raindrops glinting in his dark curls. He hands her a small paper bag folded closed. Inside, homemade ginger cookies. Spicy warmth blooms against the rain-cold night. She offers a fragile smile. Snow starts. Tiny white darts melt on the sidewalk and scent the air with iron. Chosen family Christmas crackles in her living room. Tinsel glitters on the windows. Conversations braid together. Pottery kilns, office gossip, dishwasher soap preferences, the quiet awe of first sober holiday in 30 years. Gloria, silver-haired waitress turned pen pal, raises a mug of mulled cider. "To the girl who figured out her bank doesn't have to be empty or full," she declares. Soft clinks echo. Layla clutches the piggy bank to her chest. One by one, guests drop small wadded bills through the slot. 20, 15, 10. Later, Marcus sets the last cookie on her plate. She breaks it. Inside, baked into the center, is a folded note. Her own handwriting stares back, dated exactly 12 months earlier during her first solo panic attack. "You are allowed to want more than leftovers of other people's attention." She swallows hard, tastes nutmeg, and the very first time her own voice mattered. Her finger traces the edge. Paper crinkles softly. The sound is gentle thunder. Frank and Margaret Monroe call 2 days after New Year's. Their voices tremble over speaker. They want to visit in spring, no strings, just tea. Layla hesitates, remembering the sting of 50-cent birthday cards and accidental comparisons. She glances at the growing bundle of bills inside the piggy. 47 total now. 47 weeks of willing herself to matter. She says yes, not to obligation, but to possibility. Within limits. Martinez-style handshake, honest and firm. May brings plum blossoms and a second visit car door shutting outside. Margaret carries a vintage cherrywood frame. Inside sits Layla's Emerson Award certificate, now professionally matted. Tears prickle. This is not the extravagant apology of a flashy Tesla beau. This is quiet, deliberate, carefully chosen. Recognition measured in hours, not dollars. Layla summons courage like morning light. She invites them inside. Green tea steams. Conversation halts, inches forward, breathes. They don't apologize for every scar. They listen without fidgeting when she names them. When they leave, Layla removes the bills from the piggy bank. She folds them into crisp rectangles and lines them up like quiet soldiers on her coffee table. 48. At sunset, light slices across the living room, turning each green portrait to bronze. She cups them. Paper rustles like old leaves stirred by wind. 48 weeks of choosing herself. No one can take that silence back. Not even family. Not anymore. That night, the soft rain drifted against my apartment window in downtown Baltimore. The city lights blinked through the streaks, quiet and alive. I sat alone, tracing the rounded edge of my old piggy bank, heavy now, cold beneath my fingertips, but strangely precious. 52 bills, one for each week, one full year of choosing myself. The piggy bank was never meant to matter. It was a throwaway gift from Frank and Margaret Monroe, a half-joke, a shrug in porcelain. Yet here it was, the most meaningful thing I owned. Every dollar inside was a silent promise. I will not settle for scraps of affection. I will not wait for applause that never comes. Rain scent curled through the window. The hum of traffic, the rustle of spring leaves outside, everything felt new. The ache of old wounds lingered, but tonight something shifted. I realized I was enough. Not because my family saw it, not because anyone cheered, but because I stayed, week after week, through the loneliness, the sighs, the quiet victories. Have you ever had to walk away from what hurt, just to find your own worth? What do you hold on to when you need to remember your own strength? For me, it's this simple piggy bank, filled with the proof that I kept going. I wonder, what small thing reminds you that you matter, even when no one is watching? Tonight, as city lights shimmer and the world hushes, I know, my redemption isn't loud. It's here, in the steady beat of my own heart. No more waiting. No more begging to be seen. Sometimes the truest respect comes from yourself. Sometimes you begin again. And that is enough.